every single time you stream a video, send a message, or query an advanced AI, you think your data flies effortlessly through the sky. Right? You picture wireless signals, bouncing off satellites, floating seamlessly in the cloud. But here is the massive trillion-dollar lie. The cloud does not exist. The wireless world is a total illusion. Over 99% of all global data traffic, every financial trade, every video call, every single byte of information, travels through physical, hair-thin strands of glass buried right beneath the dirt. We are talking about fiber optic cables, stretched across thousands of miles of mud, concrete, and deep ocean trenches. For decades, traditional telecom giants like AT&T, Verizon, and Lumen controlled these invisible arteries, charging whatever they wanted to let data pass. They held the ultimate monopoly, a digital toll booth on the modern world, or at least, they used to, because right now, behind closed doors, a silent, brutal war is taking place beneath our feet. The world's biggest tech giants, Google, Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft, are quietly spending tens of billions of dollars, not to build software, but to buy up, lay down, and control the physical glass fibers of the earth. They are systematically bypassing the telecom industry entirely, cutting out the middleman, and building a private, invisible web. But why would software companies turn themselves into heavy industrial pipeline owners? The answer lies in a hidden financial vulnerability, a looming crisis that could soon give just 4 companies complete control over the entire modern internet. To understand this massive shift, we first have to look at how traditional telecom companies made their fortunes. For decades, the business model of fiber was simple, predictable, and absurdly profitable. If you wanted to move data across the country, you had to lease space on existing networks. Telecom companies own the physical routes, the hard-to-get rights-of-way alongside highways, pipelines, and old railway tracks, getting permission to dig up thousands of miles of dirt, lay conduit, and string fiber takes years of legal battles and immense capital. So, once these lines were laid, telecoms possessed an absolute monopoly. They didn't just sell internet access to everyday consumers. Their real money came from selling access to enterprise clients, data centers, and regional providers. They called it wholesale bandwidth. If you wanted to run a digital business, you paid their toll. Period. It was a lucrative balance. Telecoms owned the glass, tech companies built the software, and everyone made money. But then, an unprecedented explosion in data consumption shattered this peaceful arrangement between high-definition streaming, massive cloud storage updates, and relentless social media feeds. The sheer volume of data moving across the globe began to double every few years. Suddenly, tech companies realized something terrifying. Their operational survival and their future profit margins were completely at the mercy of traditional telecom landlords. Every time user traffic spiked, the leasing fees paid to telecom companies surged exponentially. It was a financial trap. The tech giants were building multi-trillion-dollar software empires on top of infrastructure they did not own and could not control. If a telecom route experienced latency, or suffered a physical break, or raised its leasing fees, tech giants simply had to pay up or watch their platforms crash. That was the moment everything changed. A quiet decision was made deep inside corporate boardrooms, a strategy so aggressive, it would permanently alter the balance of power in global business. Instead of paying rent, tech giants decided to build their own private internet. The strategy started slowly, almost imperceptibly. Around 15 years ago, Google began acquiring vast stretches of dark fiber, cables that had been laid underground during the dot-com bubble, but were left unused and dormant. They bought these assets for pennies on the dollar, lit them up with modern lasers, and connected their regional data centers directly. At first, traditional telecom executives laughed it off. They viewed it as an expensive, unnecessary distraction for a search engine company, but they completely miscalculated. What Google realized before anyone else was that control over physical infrastructure was the key to infinite scale. By owning the glass, their operational cost per gigabyte dropped to near zero, while traditional competitors were still paying sky-high rental fees to telecom carriers. Seeing Google's dramatic cost advantage, Meta, Amazon and Microsoft quickly followed suit, but they didn't just buy old, unused fiber. They started digging. They began spending billions, laying millions of miles of state-of-the-art terrestrial fiber across continents, and dropping massive subsea cables straight across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Today, tech giants don't just own software. They own over 80% of all new subsea fiber capacity across the world's busiest routes. They transformed from software vendors into the world's most powerful infrastructure oligopoly, right under the noses of traditional carriers. Yet, this massive shift created a devastating ripple effect, one that is silently crippling middle-market internet service providers and altering the economics of the web forever. Consider the brutal reality for traditional telecom companies. Historically, telecoms counted on tech traffic to subsidize the massive costs of maintaining thousands of miles of physical cables. But as tech giants pulled their traffic off public commercial networks and moved it onto their own private fiber backbones, telecom revenues began to collapse. The lucrative wholesale revenues simply vanished. Suddenly, traditional operators were left holding millions of miles of aging, expensive infrastructure, with vastly reduced cash flow to maintain or upgrade it. This triggered a classic economic death spiral. Telecom revenues dropped, forcing them to cut back on network investments, which made their remaining public networks slower, less reliable, and more vulnerable to physical outages. Meanwhile, the tech giants were playing a completely different game, because they weren't trying to sell bandwidth to the public for a quick profit. They used their fiber networks as a massive strategic moat. By controlling the physical path from their data centers directly to edge locations near consumers, they achieved lightning-fast load times that no standard telecom-dependent competitor could ever match. Try competing with a company that delivers instant, zero-lag content, while your data is stuck negotiating traffic through 3 different legacy telecom toll booths. You can't. It is an unfair game. But just when tech giants thought they had completely conquered the physical infrastructure layer, a new technological revolution arrived, one that shattered all previous bandwidth calculations and pushed existing fiber networks to their absolute limit. Enter the age of artificial intelligence. Training a single, next-generation frontier AI model requires moving unimaginable amounts of raw data between tens of thousands of specialized microchips. We are talking about data transfer demands so massive, they instantly choke standard fiber optic paths. Traditional fiber backbones were engineered to handle distributed, predictable web traffic. Users clicking pages, streaming videos, or opening apps. AI workloads are completely different. They generate massive, continuous, concentrated fire hoses of data, moving between giant regional compute clusters and power plants. Suddenly, the private fiber networks that tech giants spent the last decade building are nowhere near big enough. The AI race has created a frantic, high-stakes infrastructure bottleneck, where the company with the most high-speed glass will literally dictate who wins the future of artificial intelligence. And this is where the story takes its most surprising and controversial turn. To solve this massive AI bandwidth crunch, tech giants are no longer just laying standard fiber cables. They are engineering entirely new, hyperdense routes, designed to carry thousands of individual fiber strands inside a single pipeline. They are cutting direct deals with power companies, private equity funds, and local governments, buying up rights of way alongside rural high-voltage power lines, and building high-speed data expressways that completely bypass major cities. They are creating a hidden, parallel physical network, built exclusively for machine intelligence. Think about the sheer power dynamic at play here. If a tiny group of hyper-wealthy corporations owns the data centers, owns the specialized AI chips, owns the energy sources, and owns the physical glass carrying the intelligence, they don't just control the digital market, they control the fundamental backbone of modern human civilization. When you strip away the sleek software, the high-tech branding, and the promises of cloud convenience, you find a business reality that is shockingly old-fashioned. It is not about code. It is about earth, conduit, and glass. The hidden business of U.S. fiber networks is no longer about connecting people. It has become a high-stakes, multi-billion-dollar game of physical land grab the traditional telecom giants, who once ruled the digital world through their toll booths, are being pushed aside. Outspent, outmaneuvered, and outbuilt by the very platforms they helped create, the cloud was never in the sky, it has always been beneath our feet. And as the race for AI dominance accelerates, every single foot of dark fiber buried in the dirt becomes more valuable than gold. The real question isn't whether this private infrastructure shift will continue. The real question is, when four tech behemoths completely finish building their private physical web,